Okay, so before we even get started on making our little doggy sweater, you're gonna need some yarn different from the yarn you're gonna use to make your sweater, and you're gonna need some scissors. Then you'll grab your doggy. It's kind of hard with two dogs, but we have to take a couple of measurements to make sure that the sweater will end up fitting Thunder. So the first measurement we're gonna take is around his neck. Thunder has a really big neck, so I do like to give him a little bit of extra room. Kermit's so interested in this sweater, it's so cute. Anyway, neck first. Go away, Kermit. And then the biggest part of your dog's chest, and then the littlest part of their waist. So those three measurements are the three most important ones. It'll let you know how big around to make the tubey part of the sweater. You will also need to get a measurement from the distance between their legs, and I like to grab from the back of the elbow to the back of the other elbow over their shoulders. Just that gives you a pretty good zone right there, and pretty much that's all the measurements. So the best way to deal with these different yarns is to tape them to a piece of paper and label neck, chest, waist, and distance between the legs, and then you can get started. So for this project, I started at the collar and then worked my way down. So the first step is to determine how long you want the collar to be, not how big around, but how long, because we're gonna make it fold over like a turtleneck. So for Thunder, that ended up being, I think, about 20 chain links, and then you just make it into a very long rectangle. So the first step is how high the neck is going to be, and then the next step is just half double crochets until your square is as long as the neck measurement that you made in the beginning. So I'm just doing half double crochets, nothing special here. And then when you get to the end and you're pretty sure that you've made it as long as your dog's neck is around, you can fold that rectangle in half and then just do single crochets through both ends, and that basically sews your doggy's little neck collar part together. You can also just take a sewing needle and sew it together using the yarn, but crocheting it together just is easy for me because I was already had my crochet hook out, and it meant I didn't have to cut any of the yarn. Once you're done crocheting those edges together, you'll have a tube and you'll have a seam, and that seam that you crocheted together will always be in the front, like right underneath your dog's chin. So there's that tube. So we get those all cut off. And I pull it really tight, and then the next step is to start going around that tube to create the shoulder part for where your dog's shoulders are. So here I am just turning it inside out so that it's the way that he'll actually wear it. And then I'm gonna start from the bottom down here, and I'm just gonna do double crochets all the way around that round, but I'm also going to increase every single stitch. So right now it's something around 15 chains around, like the width of Thunder's neck is about 15 chains. So what I'm starting with is chain 2, because that's how you start a double crochet, and then I'm doing double crochets, but I'm doing 2 double crochets in every stitch. That way there'll be a big increase in size, so it'll fit his shoulders because his neck is smaller than his shoulders. Basically, I'm just going to do double crochets, 2 double crochets in every stitch, all the way around one time, and then the second time that I go all the way around, I'm just going to do double crochets in every stitch. There we go. Now I've gone around it twice with double crochets. And now what I'm going to do is decrease a little bit. So on every 5th stitch, I'm going to decrease 1 stitch. So I'm just doing half double crochets again. That double crochet zone was just to make the collar wider for Thunder's shoulders. Now that it's wide enough, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit by reducing by 1 stitch on every 5th stitch. So it'll be 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, 3 half double crochet, 4 half double crochet, 5 half double crochet. Then I'm going to combine the next 2 stitches. So it's actually on the 6th stitch, I should say. 5 stitches, then combine 2 stitches. 5 stitches, then combine 2 stitches. So 5 half double crochet, and then you're going to combine the next 2 stitches into 1 half double crochet. This will just allow the collar portion to get a little bit tighter, just so that it fits snug to Thunder's body. You can see here, I'm just turning to put the seam in the front, and then you can see how the collar is smaller than that shoulder portion. That's where we added stitches so that it was wide enough to cover his little shoulders. He hates trying on clothes when I'm in the process of making them. But this is the point where we're almost at his legs. So I'm putting a marker right at the base of his elbow on both sides, just so I know where I need to leave the hole. It makes it nice and clear by putting those markers there what we're looking for when we need to stop. If you just try to remember, it can be pretty difficult. But now you can see that marker lines up with his elbow, so I'll leave this whole blank spot just around his little arms, and then we'll make a little band that goes around his tummy after his elbows, right around there. And that'll hold the sweater on. But that empty space above it will be free for his legs to move around with no problems. Okay, so now that I know where I need to stop, what I'm going to do is just regular half double crochet all the way around. And then when I hit that marker, I'm just going to tie it off. And you can see that that shoulder zone gets a little bit tighter at the bottom. So it goes out wide for his shoulders, and then it comes in just a little bit. And then I'm just readjusting where those markers are so that they are lined up together. They're both halfway. And then I'm gonna just start my stitch right at that first marker. And I'm gonna do just chain stitches here because I am just trying to make a hole for his legs. We're not actually doing a crochet stitch yet. So I'm going to just chain from one marker all the way to the other, and I'm actually adding a few extra stitches. You could just count the number of stitches that it is between your 2 markers, but Thunder has a big broad chest and little legs, so I like to give him a little bit of extra room for his legs to move around. If I had left it here just like this, it would have just looked like a slit in his sweater. But by adding a few extra stitches, it makes it more of a rounded hole. Okay, and now at that point I was pretty comfortable with how big that hole was going to be. So I looped in where that marker is, and then from there I just started half double crocheting around without doing an increase stitch at all, just half double crochet all the way around, just until with that it's basically just going to be continuing around for maybe 3 or 4 rows all the way around, and that'll create the band underneath Thunder's tummy that holds the sweater on, and that's pretty much the next step. So until that little band that will be underneath your dog's tummy is maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches wide, just keep going around. So if you're using a really thin yarn, that might be 4 or 5 rows. If you're using a really fat yarn, that might only be 2 rows. For me, I think it was another 3 rows all the way around just to make that band, just speeding it up to save time. Just as an FYI, the entire project took me 2.5 hours. So I did just sit through it and did it all in one sitting, and it was about 2.5 hours for the whole sweater, start to finish. Okay, so I just pulled Thunder up so I could see how much I needed for that band, because at this point I kind of wanted to have it taper in a little bit. So since Thunder gets from his broad chest to his skinny little waist real quick, I decreased on every 5th stitch for that band just to keep it snug on his body. Little cutie bear. So I went around once, and then on every 5th stitch I decreased by 1 stitch. If you don't know how to decrease stitches in crochet, there is a tutorial for that, and I'll link it in the description below. When you're not decrease stitching though, I'm just doing a half double crochet still. So half double crochet for 5 stitches, then decrease by 1, half double crochet for 5, decrease by 1. By only decreasing on every 5th stitch, it keeps the sweater around the same size, but it helps it just kind of stay snug to your doggie's body. Alright, so I made that band pretty much as wide as I want it, but then I was noticing it was a little bit loose on Thunder around that hole where his front legs go. So I ended up crocheting a half double crochet around the hole, decreasing every 5th stitch again, just so that got a little bit snug around his legs. So 5 stitches, then decrease by 1 stitch. Still just a half double crochet, nothing too crazy. It just allowed it to fit a little more snug. Alright, so once I was done with that, I put my markers in around where I wanted the sweater to stop. So you don't want your sweater going all the way down your dog's body, or when they have to go to the bathroom, they'll get it all over their sweater. So I stop it just before any of Thunder's private parts, and I keep it going right on the back up until the base of his tail. So that's about the space that I need there to be no crochet. So I do put a marker in, it just makes it easier for the first couple of rows. And then I just go back and forth doing a half double crochet just until the tube is long enough to cover Thunder's whole body. So for me, I think that was about 6 or 7 more rows after that, but this part's really quick because it's just going back and forth with a half double crochet. There's no decreasing, there's nothing difficult. This part's the easy part. And that's pretty much it. So if you liked this tutorial, give it a thumbs up and comment. Let me know what I can improve on for next time. If you have any other tutorials, crochet tutorials, sewing tutorials, embroidery, dog tricks. If you liked the fun facts videos, let me know. So thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. I do put out a new video 3 times a week, so Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays of every week, new content is always coming out. So subscribe, and hit the notification button at the bottom too, so that you get the notification when my new videos come out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.